Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering 2nd Esdras chapters 4 through 6
on podcast number 80.
Yeah, so this is the 80th episode of this show, and I think how many are we on the other one? 190 something.
We're approaching 200.
Yeah, almost.
It's like 2 million or something.
Oh, episode 2 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, look at how much of the Bible we have left to read.
Yeah, not that much actually. So we're definitely a good chunk of the way through, and I would say, what is this, like 70% maybe? And that's
we're
good
like
progress.
95% of the way through the Old Testament.
Yeah, we don't really have that much more to go. Let's see. We got so the rest of Ezekiel, Daniel, and then all these shorter ones.
Yeah.
And whoever was betting on them reading the entire thing, you win that bet.
Yeah, if anyone
Not
was...
yet. Lawrence could get, like, I don't know, a stroke or something before we finish.
We can only hope.
Or we could run into something so ridiculous that Lawrence has a stroke.
In either case, I would have a stroke.
Yep.
He's really betting on that.
Yes.
Hope you didn't put all your eggs in that basket.
Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
Am I going to have a stroke? Who knows? You may be able to win some money.
It's like Mark Belling had a stroke a few years back.
Who?
I don't know who that is.
The guy who's been doing the AM talk radio in Milwaukee for like 40 years.
Why are you talking about radio?
What's an AM?
We do the modern equivalent of radio.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Except people can see you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
also, you
Well,
are
video
easily
killed
censored.
the radio star. And you can play back our stuff, whereas you can't do that on the radio, which means we're better than radio.
This is way better than radio.
Tear the radio out of your car.
Put into YouTube.
Yeah. Put in a thing that just links you to our channel.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's some
U-shaped tube.
That's you're five-heading it.
Yeah.
Ruben.
So I have the Anchor Bible, 1st and 2nd Esdras by Jacob M. Myers.
And I have Erdman's commentary on the Bible. And honestly, these are the two books that we'll be using for this, because the Myers commentary and translation has the commentary.
Yeah.
So, and it is much more in depth than this one, but this can add some perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
Not horrible. But today we get to meet an angel.
An angel, and it looks like it's happening right off the bat, because at the top of chapter 4 it says dialogue with Uriel.
Exactly. And remember last week we started the what was it, the Apocalypse of Ezra, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was called.
And we're in the middle of it now. We're gonna be in it for a while.
Yeah, we are. It goes through chapter 14, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up. When I was looking up backgrounds for this episode, I was, sorry, excuse me for reading ahead a little bit. But yeah,
you monster.
I know we got some really cool visions coming up, especially next week.
So the name Uriel occurs in 1 Chronicles 6:24, 15:5, and 15:11. 2 Chronicles 13:2, and also in Assyrian, though not in reference to the angel. It means God is my light or fire. So Uriel was the second of the 4 archangels named in 1 Enoch 9:1. According to 1 Enoch 22, he was set over the world and over Tartarus. He figures in the book of Adam and Eve, the Apocalypse of Moses, 1 Enoch, and 2nd Esdras.
Shout out to Enoch.
Yep.
Hey, absolutely.
As Gabriel, another archangel, was sent to Mary in Luke 1:26, so Uriel was sent to Ezra here.
So fantastic. We have an archangel that we're going to be meeting today.
And how many of those are there traditionally?
Traditionally, isn't it like
4?
No. Isn't it like 6 or 7?
It depends on what source you're looking at. 1 Enoch names like 5 or 6 of them, right? And
I remember it named like a lot of angels. Not all of them were archangels,
No,
obviously.
just a few.
It said that there were a total of 200 angels. I remember that.
yeah.
And the ones
And
listed
there's way more than 200 Levites. So
right. Okay, so
know.
let's see. There was
Whoopsie
Michael
floopsie.
that was listed.
there was that one that was only in First Enoch. What was it, like Salathiel or something?
There was a weird
No,
one,
that's
but I don't think it was Salathiel.
no. There was something else. I don't quite remember, but there were some that were some archangels that were listed. There were a good amount of regular angels that were listed as well.
Mm-hmm. And Jubilees talks about divisions of angels a
Yep.
little bit.
Yep.
Even though if there are 200 angels, then only some of them are angels of the presence. And,
Yeah.
You know, there's way too many Levites, just way too many of them for Jubilees to be accurate in its assumptions.
You know, Jubilees was an interesting
else.
book.
Yep. Anyways, let's get into chapter 4 here. We're going to be talking about Uriel in dialogue with Enoch. So,
With Enoch?
not Enoch, Esdras.
I was like, holy shit.
You got two E names
You
here.
got shouted out
So-
to Enoch too hard.
Yeah. I mean, the last time we heard from Uriel, I think, was in Enoch. Raphael was in Tobit.
Yes.
But we haven't really heard much about Uriel. So here we go. Uriel, it's been a while. Then the angel who had been sent to me, his name was Uriel, replied. So if we remember here, in the last episode, Esdras or Ezra had seen this vision of all these angels, and there's the Son of God there, right? And we had come to the conclusion based off of the commentaries that bit was an addition.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that when it says the angel who had been sent to me, it is referring to that same angel, and maybe this bit is another addition?
Well, remember, I think this was from the divisions that we were talking about before. I think this is this forms the core of the text. So this would be the older one.
So within the original text, they just had out of nowhere this no context angel that had been sent to him.
Well, that's why one of the other ideas was that this was part of a bigger work.
That would make sense.
It's too bad we lost all these big works and just had
You know,
stuff left.
Remember was it Maccabees and so Jason of Cyrene, he compiled Second Maccabees, right? But he basically summarized. Sorry, the guy who summarized the works of Jason of Cyrene.
Right. And he says, of course, if you need better references, go check out
yeah.
the real thing. And we're all like, we can't. We want
real
to,
bummer.
though.
If you need better references, you can always read the book of the lives of the kings of Israel.
That would be great.
Judah and Israel. That book.
What a
we
fantastic
totally
text.
found. We totally found that.
You know, I bet it sucked. I bet it was
It's
just
really mundane.
a chronicle.
I bet it was a recording of the royal decrees. And
Yeah, that is what I'm
It's
guessing.
as mundane and legalese as you would think it would be.
That's
so
what I would think.
Probably not a fun read.
yeah, it's like, for more context, go read Supreme Court case. Yeah, no, we're not going to. That would suck. He said to me, since your thinking is so completely wrong with reference to this world, how do you expect to comprehend the way of the Most High? I said, just so, my lord. He replied as follows, I have been sent to show you 3 ways, and to put before you 3 similitudes. If you can unravel for me one of them, I will show you the way you wish to see and teach you why the heart is evil. Speak, my lord, said I. So he said to me, go ahead, weigh for me the weight of fire, measure for me the measure of the wind, or recover for me the day that is past. Ooh, that's a hard challenge.
Yeah, those seem like
That
Herculean
last
tasks.
one's pretty hard.
They, they all seem pretty hard, actually.
So there's tons of references in here for wind, weighing of winds. First Enoch has it. It's wind and fire are mentioned together in the Wisdom of Solomon and Job. And so the wind was regarded...
I think the whole point of it, obviously, though, is that these things are not things that you can do.
Yeah, even though using modern science, we can measure things in a number of ways. So for measuring the wind, it could be as easy as having a device that literally measures how fast the wind is going, which, I mean, the weather people have to do all the time.
Yeah.
Or a device is doing
even if
for
you're,
them, at this point.
And if you're weighing the wind, you just select a piece of the atmosphere that you are going to call the wind temporarily, and you can, in fact, weigh it.
Yeah, and...
Congratulations.
Yeah. How much wind are we weighing? Exactly.
1 atmosphere's worth.
1 atmosphere's worth. That's a lot of wind.
Or it's pretty average everywhere.
It could be.
Well,
probably not, though.
You could set up like one of those things, like a pinwheel, right next to the gates in the heavens.
Oh.
You could.
The windows where the wind comes through.
Yeah, how many times did the pinwheel spin? And you know how much wind it can hold then. Yeah.
And recovering the day that is past, I mean, that's still out of our
Right.
reach.
We can't go back and retrieve yesterday, but
we can isolate things in systems and return them to their previous statuses, which is pretty much the same thing as time.
I mean, no, I wouldn't say.
No, I mean,
but
like on a quantum level.
on a more physical level, perhaps,
physical.
but
Also,
I
hi,
would
Brian.
say that a way to do it would be to look exactly 1 light day away.
Oh yeah.
So you're not retrieving it, but at least you can see it. And this is theoretical, obviously.
Well,
So-
no, you just have an object that exists that's quantumly entangled 1 light day
Oh,
away that
yeah.
happenstance is also attached to a lens, and you can communicate
Absolutely.
through those 2 entangled particles
So
by
simple.
alternating their pulses, and they are entangled to look opposite of what they are in one place to the other.
So
you'll
easy.
get the data, you'll recover the data, and it will be a
So-
day ahead.
So there
We're
are
behind.
references to the day that is past in Psalm 90, 2 Peter, Barnabas,
I mean, that's
That's
just,
weird.
2 Baruch, 1 Enoch, 2 Enoch.
I'm sure pops up a lot of places. It doesn't really seem like that uncommon of a phrase.
Yep. So we got all these parallels to different literature. I bet this is the author of Second Esdras just flexing on the reader. Like, yeah, I've read a lot. Come on, bro. So let's continue here. I responded as follows. What natural-born person can do that you should ask me about such things? Then he said to me, had I asked you, saying, how many dwelling places are in the depths of the sea? Or how many fountains are at the source of the abyss?
Good question.
There's some of them, yeah. I think Enoch talks about there being 1 fountain, right?
Well,
There were 4 pits, and
that was-
one of them had a fountain in it.
the thing is, that was if abyss there is supposed to be shoal.
Well, 1QH 315F
So it's a
speaks
Qumran
of the
scroll.
boiling of the abyss.
Oh, okay.
And 1QH 1034 mentions it as, and in the rooms of Sheol.
Okay,
The
so it
idea
would be-
is found in Canaanite literature from Ugarit, quote, the source of the 2 rivers, the outlet of the 2 deeps.
Okay, so then it would be in fact shoal. Well, I think Enoch has your answer then.
Well,
Yes.
Of course, that was all revealed, but still, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Enoch has the answer.
Or how many ways...
He got it forever ago too. So
Right. how many ways are above the firmament? Or where are the exits out of hell?
You know,
Or where are the ways of paradise? So there are exits out of hell.
No, maybe there are. He's asking where they
or
are.
maybe it's just
Job.
He could
Job
not know.
references the gates of deep darkness, and there's gates of death. Isaiah talks about the gates of Sheol.
I guess maybe they have.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a way in, right?
So there must be a way out.
Yeah. It's interesting though. If you, I forget. Does Enoch? Sorry, if we're getting back on this. Does Enoch mention gates of Sheol?
I don't recall any mention of gates.
I remember the gates for like in the heavens.
We've got two
Right.
more Enochs to read. Who knows?
Yeah, but in First Enoch, they just mention different parts of Sheol. They don't
Right.
mention like gates of Sheol.
I don't
that
remember
go
if
to
they
Sheol.
mentioned gates. Yeah.
But here in Second Esdras, we have confirmation that there are not only gates, but specified exits.
Well, he's asking a question here.
Yeah, and you would figure that if
If it's rhetorical, then the answer would just be like, you can't find these things because they don't exist.
do you think that Uriel would mention the number of ways above the firmament as purely rhetorical? Surely Uriel would have knowledge of the ways above the firmament.
If he's asking a person to figure these things out as a rhetorical question, which, before he asked questions that he was like, no human can figure that one out. Like, if he's still going along those lines, then it very easily could be rhetorical.
It could be, but he so let's keep reading the next verse here. It says, "Or where are the ways of paradise? You might have retorted, I have never descended into the abyss, nor as yet entered hell, or ever ascended into heaven, nor have I looked into paradise." So that implies that these are answerable questions.
Right,
It's just that Esdras or Ezra has not had the experiences.
he has no access to the answers.
Right. But still, that means that if they're answerable questions, then where
I
the
see.
exits of hell are is an answerable
Sure,
question.
sure. Then it assumes that there are exits in hell. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in Miami.
Yeah. But now I have asked you only about fire and wind and the day through which you have passed, and without which you cannot exist. Yet you have given me no answer about them. He said unto me, You cannot understand the very things that belong to you, that have been associated with you. So how can your mortal mind grasp the way of the Most High, or one already impaired by the corrupt world comprehend incorruption? When I heard this, I fell upon my face.
So that's stuff we've heard a lot, and you know what? It's stuff we hear today from a lot of apologists, right? Like how who
how
are
they
you?
fell on their face that day or the
Not
next.
that part. The part where they're like, how can you understand how can you understand the Bible if you don't believe? How do you or when they ask like when they go down the morality route, like where do you get your moral values from and shit like that?
So
If you have no standard for such things, like we do, it's just not the same as yours.
So since Ezra cannot account for things of this world, how can he comprehend the ways of the Most High? His attitude is just what it ought to be. He responds with an emphatic assent to the observation of Uriel. The whole stance is a familiar one in apocalyptic literature in general, e.g., John and the guiding or interpreting angel in the book of Revelation, with the angel as mediator or preceptor to the troubled inquirer. Nevertheless, the author follows the prophetic tradition and rejects the grossly fantastic imagery of many of the apocalypses.
This still is an apocalypse.
The lesson begins with a statement of the credentials of the instructor and the posing of questions for the learner, which he is to contemplate if he would gain the knowledge he seeks.
This reminds me of something. It reminds me of Passover. And apparently they do this thing where they ask, where the kids are meant to ask a series of questions. And the part that I found funniest was that the smartest kid has to ask the most difficult and complex question, while the dumbest one has to ask the simplest question.
No, the dumbest one is the immature one that can't speak at all.
That usually ends up being that one, yeah.
Yeah.
But it can just be the dumbest one.
Yeah, there's a dumbest. There's 4 of them, right? There's, there's a dumb one, there's an immature one, there's an irreverent one, and there's a smart one, right? So,
and there's the non-participant.
No.
Well, you didn't know.
None of that here.
They left.
Yeah. So generally, Second Esdras refrains from such excursions, but the aim here seems to be to apprise Ezra of the greatness of God on the one hand and the limitations of man on the other. How can he hope to understand the mysteries of God's ways in areas beyond his expertise if he cannot even explain the commonplace in his life? Yeah. So that is the first section of this chapter. Now we are going into the second section of this chapter.
Looks like a parable coming up.
It is ridiculous to try to comprehend what is unnatural. That's the name of the section.
Okay.
Which is more of a statement than a name, but okay. And I said to him, it would have been better for us not to have been present than to come here and live in sin and to suffer without knowing why. Very ecclesiastical.
Yeah.
He replied to me as follows. Once I went out to a forest of trees of the field who were holding a consultation. They said,
if you remember Psalms, right?
Yes.
There was I think it was Psalms, right, where they had the trees speaking, where they personified them. I think it was in the Psalms. May have been in a different book.
These trees trying to sell them on a luxury deal for one of those, what are those scams for houses or whatever?
Oh, one of those timeshares?
Yeah. Are they trying to sell timeshares?
So the parable of the forest and the sea is reminiscent of Judges 9:8-15 and the visions of Baruch. Such contest fables were common in Babylonian wisdom literature.
Okay, so I guess let's keep going with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember, I think it was a psalm that personified the trees.
Yes. They said, "Come, let us proceed to make war against the sea, that it may retreat before us, and that we may make for ourselves more forests." But the waves of the sea also held a consultation and said, "Come, let us go up and vanquish the forest of the field, that we may gain for ourselves their additional space." However, the plan of the forest was in vain, because fire came and consumed it. The plan of the waves of the sea, too, was in vain, because the sand stood firm and blocked them. If, now, you were their judge, which one would you attempt to justify, or which one to condemn?
Considering they didn't actually do anything, it looks like they didn't even have a chance to really do anything. That no one really started to do anything.
Oh, this is a metaphor for God.
Oh my
I
God.
understand. You see, it's like we don't have any. Never mind. Go ahead.
So there's references in here. Marduk establishes a bar to keep back the waters of the seas after slaying Tiamat.
Okay.
Conflict between the sea and the land is extremely early and persistent in the literature of the ancient world.
It's interesting how they thought of beaches at this time.
Yeah.
They're like, it's stopping the sea from getting us.
Yeah.
Thank you, beach.
Thank you so much.
It's interesting that they put it that way. Yeah, but the trees and the sea compete in a quaint little story to show that Ezra's own understanding will get him nowhere.
Sure.
Apparently, that's that one.
Yeah, basically is what they're getting at here. So it says, to some extent, what is voiced here is a variation on the theme of the age-old problem of human suffering, especially that of the righteous, or at least of the less wicked. A problem which has not yet been solved with any degree of confidence. The little fable parable offered to put Ezra's problem in perspective does just that, but no more. Just as the trees of the forest cannot encroach upon the sea, or the waves of the sea upon the land reserved for the forest, each must remain in its domain, so earthbound beings are limited to earthly things, and heavenly beings to heavenly things.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, Uriel tells Ezra a parable to drive home to him the futility of attempting something in which one is unable to win.
So let's see Ezra's response to this challenge.
Yeah.
I responded as follows. Both of them concocted a foolish plan, for the land was given to the forest and the locale of the sea to carry its waves. He replied to me, you have judged correctly. Why have you not done so in your own case? For just as the land was given over to the forest and the sea to its waves, so also those who inhabit the earth can understand only earthly things, and those above the heavens can understand only the things that are above the heavens. Well, that doesn't appear to be the case, because Uriel seems to understand the earth well enough to remark on fables about the earth and tell stories about the earth, right? So it looks like heavenly things can know things about the earth.
Hi, both Matts.
Yes, I would. They seem to know these things about the earth, so they're not completely separate. But of course, the explanation would be, well, they're divine. Of course, they're going to understand us, but we can't understand them.
Yes. So now we're in a new subsection. Why can't man understand things below? Then I responded as follows. Pray tell me, O Lord, why has the faculty of perception been given to me? For I did not mean to inquire about the ways above, but rather about those things we experience daily. Why Israel is subjected to abuse by the nations, the people whom you chose given up to impious tribes, the law of our fathers rendered ineffective, and the written stipulations disregarded. For we leave this world like grasshoppers. Our life is like a vapor, and we are unworthy of receiving mercy.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff actually contains philosophy that's outlined in Ecclesiastes.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal, too.
Yeah, like everything has its own place. And of course, the phrasing here is our life is but a vapor. But if you remember, I think it was, our life being a breath, right?
Yeah, this is referenced in Ecclesiastes 6:12.
Yeah. So it's so I think that this is an interesting expansion of Ecclesiastes then, because it takes all that stuff and says that they can't really interact that well. Everything, wherever you are, whatever attributes you would apply to things, like just stick to your lane, because this is where it's meant to be. You can only understand things in this certain sphere, and you can't go outside of it.
Of course, we can also say, oh, you filthy peasants, you just don't
True.
understand the ways of the king, so
Exactly.
you can't criticize them.
Exactly. You could very easily just do
That's
that.
only because I'm filthy.
But what will he do for his name which we bear? About these things I inquired. He replied to me as follows. If you continue, you will see, and if you go on living, you will often marvel, because the age is speedily coming to an end. For it cannot bear the things promised to the righteous in the times, because this age is full of sorrow and frailties. For the evil concerning which you interrogated me has been sown, but its harvest time has not yet come. If, therefore, what has been sown is not reaped, and if the place where evil has been sown does not pass away, the field where good has been sown will not appear. Because a grain of evil seed was sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. How much wickedness it has brought forth until now, and will yet bring forth by threshing time. Calculate now for yourself how a great harvest of wickedness a single grain of evil seed has brought forth, when numberless heads of them have been sown. How large a threshing floor they will require.
And just before Chris puts his foot in his mouth,
Myths are fun.
Okay, sure, but I'm actually going to answer the question.
Yeah, good. I knew you'd do it.
So mythology is, aside from just being fun, it's also an interesting look into human perspectives. You can understand a lot about cultures and people, how they interact with each other, how they think about, or how they have thought about pretty much the entire world around them. And you can learn that through, well, one of the ways you can learn that through is their writings primarily, which is why reading a book like the Bible is, I would say it is important, because arguably this is the most influential book in all of history.
Probably.
So like it's
unless you count books that influence the Bible, in which case they're inherently more influential.
Yeah, like the book of the kings and
The kings and queens, you were gonna say.
I was gonna say
Book of Kings and Queens.
Yeah, the kings of Israel and Judah.
Yeah. That was a very influential book.
Yeah. So I mean,
Code of Hammurabi.
As it was written.
also very influential.
As it was written.
So I would say that it's important to look at all of this in its historical context, to understand not only the philosophies that are in it, but you can also understand their view on history as well.
I like how he's like, yeah, well, you do the math, right? He says, calculate now for yourself how great a harvest of wickedness a single grain of evil seed has brought forth.
Ah, right, yeah. You do the math. It's a lot, though. It's a lot. But yeah, like it's also interesting how they played off of the be fruitful, multiply thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you continue with that seed,
because it's like a seed,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. But now it's a seed of wickedness.
One might ask.
Also, I don't think Ezekiel would like this.
Probably not. No. But one might ask why the hell Yahweh would go out of his way to plant a seed of evil in Adam.
Yes, good question.
But that's for him to know. You stay in your lane. Don't ask questions.
Yeah. Right.
Then I answered as follows. How long then and when shall this come about? Why are our years few and evil? He replied to me thus, you cannot proceed faster than the Most High, for you want to proceed at your own pace, while the one above proceeds for the many. Have not the souls of the righteous in their storehouses inquired about these things, saying, how long must we stay here? And when will the crop of our reward upon the threshing floor come? Then Jeremiel, the archangel, replied to them as follows.
Another archangel?
Who is Jeremiel?
What verse is that?
Verse 36. Jeremiel. Hebrew has YRHM''L. See Jeremiah 36:26. Grab Jeremiah 36:26.
Okay. I'll just
Syriac
snag it right out of here.
Syriac has Ramiel. Second Baruch
has 36:36?
36:26.
36:26. Okay.
The Georgian version has Uriel. Ramiel appears as the seventh archangel in 1 Enoch 20.
And the king commanded Jeramiel, the king's son, and Sariah, the son of Azriel, and Shelemiah, the son of Abdiel, to seize Baruch, the secretary, and Jeremiah the prophet, but the Lord hid them.
So we have different names in different manuscripts. Some have Ramiel, some have Uriel, some have Ramiel, and some have Jeremiel. Yeah,
so unfortunately there's not really much in here on that. The only thing that's said on the verse is this apocalyptic conviction about fixed times dominates the speech. God has measured out all things. Nothing will deviate from that measurement. That's all it says about the verses. Or about verse 36.
So it looks like the commentary here is assuming that this is still Uriel.
Okay.
I guess different manuscripts literally have it as Uriel, but it says
it's interesting. Okay, so if we consider, so you have let's say the original is Uriel. Why would somebody change it to a different name? So that's one thing, and then the other thing is if the original wasn't Uriel, I think it would make sense to change it to Uriel in that position to make it fit with the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's likely, now I don't know what the actual manuscript evidence for this is. I'm just trying to reason for this. Maybe the manuscript evidence is like completely the opposite here, but depending.
Well, it's that Syriac has Ramiel.
Okay.
The Georgian version has Uriel.
Okay.
And that's all it really says about the manuscripts.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's more to that, but
so, I mean, according to 1 Enoch 20, Uriel was the archangel in charge of those who rise or will be resurrected, and so would naturally respond to their inquiries. So, when they're talking about the threshing floor here, they're talking about these humans who have been harvested, the dead.
Yeah, because they're meant to come back.
And he's talking about the passage of time moving towards judgment, right? So it would make sense for this to be Uriel.
Yeah.
So then Jeremiel, the archangel, replied to them as follows: "When the number of those like you is full, for he has weighed the age in the balance and measured the times with a measure, and counted the times by number, and he will not disturb or rouse them until the fixed measure is attained."
Yeah, so there is so at the right time. It's going to be all at the perfect time. There's a time and place for everything, and God will be very much ready at the perfect time when everything is set, when his plan is ready to be done, I suppose.
All right. Then I answered as follows: "O Lord, Lord, all of us are too full of wickedness. Is not now perhaps on our account, on account of the sins of the inhabitants of the earth, the crop of the righteous held back?" He replied to me thus: "Go now and inquire of a pregnant woman if, when she has completed her 9 months, her womb can hold back the fetus within it." I said, "Certainly not, my lord." He then said, "In the underworld, the storehouses of souls are comparable to the womb. For just as the woman about to bear a child strives to bring an end to the inevitable anguish of delivery, so also do these places strive to expel those things committed to them from the beginning. Then the things you want to see will be shown to you."
So it is interesting to note that this metaphor of the inevitability of the birth moment is also found in ancient Hittite literature from the 12th century BCE.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they've been talking a lot about...
I agree. That was interesting to note.
Yeah, they've been talking a lot about the Sheol, basically.
Yeah. How right when everything is about, like, right as God had planned. You can't stop it. It's inevitable. Like, this resurrection will occur, effectively.
Yeah. So, and it's very deterministic, right? It's like God has a plan. Plan's gonna happen. Ain't nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, last 2 sections of this chapter. Further inquiry about the time, more past than yet to come. I replied as follows: if you please, if it is possible, and if I am capable of it, show me this too, whether there is more to come than is past, or whether we have passed through the major portion of it, inasmuch as I know what is past, but I am ignorant of the future. He said to me, stand by my right side, and I will explain to you the meaning by a similitude. So I took my place and looked, and I saw a blazing furnace before me. When the flame had passed by, I looked again and saw that the smoke remained. After this, a cloud full of water passed before me that discharged a furious downpour of rain. And when the furious downpour was over, only drops of it remained.
Yeah, so Uriel begins to... Oh, hold on. We're actually still in chapter 4.
We're not there
Never mind.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Then he said to me, think it over for yourself. Just as the rain is more than drops, and the fire more than smoke, so the measure that has passed exceeds what is yet to come, but the drops and the smoke remain. So that's interesting. We're not quite done with this. He says, so I prayed thus, do you think I will live until that time, or what will take place then? He replied to me as follows: the signs about which you ask me, I can tell you in part, but I was not sent to tell you about your life. I don't even know it.
This contains, I forget which, I'm sure Jason already knows the exact verses, but there's in the New Testament, when Jesus is asked about the end times, Jesus is like, I don't even know it. So that's very interesting that this is a very similar verse.
Yeah, and well, at least we have confirmation that the world will end sooner rather than later.
Well, there's going to be a rebirth, I guess.
Well, it's when the threshing happens.
The threshing.
So we can do the math here.
Matthew 24. Okay.
Not the Matthew, the math.
It's Matthew 24 though.
So how long ago was this? Like 2,500 years ago, right?
Oh, sure.
And the world
Context,
is supposed to be 6,000 years old, right? 6,870 something.
Okay,
right?
so we are
So that 2,500 years ago, the world would have been
so we got a little ways to go.
4,000 something years old, right? And it's been 2,500 years since then.
Well,
And
6 to 10,000.
sure. But the point being, well, if you follow the actual, let me look it up, because there is actually a Jewish year, right?
Yeah. Like the actual, like, this is the year of Earth. They do have that. And there are a lot of different ways of calculating these things too.
So Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the year, according to the Jewish calendar.
New Year.
And the Jewish calendar, 5781.
All right, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
I mean, so 2,500 years ago, right? We can do the math, right? He says calculate it. I'm just following the words of the Lord. 5781 minus 2,500. That's 3,281. So, and that
End of the
500.
age.
So by the year AD 2781, right? That's when it happens.
All right. Well, let's wait for that, I suppose.
Nobody
Stop,
who
I'm waiting.
watches this show will survive to that point.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
But you could get cryogenically frozen and see what happens.
Get uploaded to a computer, have all your bits replaced with other bits, have bits printed for your bits, have your bits replaced with robot bits. There's so many solutions. It's not even funny.
This
You
is
might be
like
around for a
all
while.
this technology that's like
Yep.
easily a few hundred years in the future. So
And some of us might live to 100. Just some.
probably not many.
10%. By
Especially
stats. Yeah.
Not those who participate in the consumption of nicotine substances and like haven't spent a hefty amount of time exercising.
Yes, can't wait
None of
for
those stats matter.
can't wait for all the drinking and smoking.
Okay, so chapter 5 starts here,
Yeah.
and the commentary is here. The textual commentary is here.
Because
But
this
then
is
chapter 5 continues here at the end of the section.
You're right,
this
because this
commentary.
is still part of the first vision, I guess.
Yes.
So here you go. And it actually starts. I actually marked it off for you, right there.
Okay. So Uriel's about to list some of the signs of the end. His catalog contains many of the signs that apocalyptic literature of the first centuries AD assumed would precede the end. As regards human beings, two thoughts are primary. Few will believe, and evil will increase. One can recall the New Testament conviction that faith will be slight in the end times. The idea of the increase of evil appears already in Daniel 12:4. This reading in Daniel depends on a correction of the traditional Hebrew text from the Middle Ages, which reads, knowledge will increase. The difference between the words knowledge and evil in Hebrew is only one letter. It's a resh and a daled. So, yeah.
Those look
They
like
look-
pretty similar. similar
One
letters.
is like this, the other's like this. So it's
We've
literally
talked about this quite a bit.
whether a curve
This
occurs.
specific
Yeah.
problem.
So this correction, which is supported by the Greek, is adopted in the NRSV, but not in the REB. Then Uriel's going to announce the fall of a country, which is presumably Rome. This prediction was surely a word of comfort for Jews living in the conditions that led to a Jewish revolt against the Roman Empire and the devastating defeat of the Jews and the destruction of Jerusalem. It was probably that defeat, and especially the defeat in the second Jewish revolt against Rome in 133 to 135, that led the Jews to lose interest in apocalyptic literature, including this work. It was Christians who continued to read and expand the apocalypses. So we're going to get lists of a lot of signs. Just a lot of stuff is about to get spewed from Uriel here, and I'm going to head to the restroom.
Okay, and I'm interested to see if any of these line up with the signs in the New Testament. Yeah. So we'll see. But as to the signs, look now, the days will come when those who inhabit the earth will be seized with great confusion, and the way of truth will be concealed, and the country of faith will be barren. Injustice will be multiplied beyond that which you yourself now see, and become incomparably greater than anything you have ever heard about. Waste and trackless will be the nation you now see, bearing rule, and men shall see it empty. If the Most High permits you to live, you will see it utterly confounded after the third period. So this text here for I'm just trying to get the reading, because there are quite a lot of notes. So the reading with the Syriac it looks like the Latin here, post tertiam turbatam. Some other manuscripts have the word trumpet instead, after the third trumpet. Interesting. So, aside from the textual notes here, let's talk a little bit about some of these signs, shall we? I need to find, of course, the actual commentary on it. Oh, here's actually more about the third period, or the third trumpet, I guess. The texts vary here on interpretation as to what noun goes with the numerical adjective. The Ethiopic has third month, Armenian has third vision, a different Armenian one has 3 signs, Gregorian has 13th day. Oh my God. All of them probably reflect the same original, which each interpreted differently. Yeah, that makes sense. That happens a lot. Behind it lies apocalyptic imagery, perhaps going back to the Tiamat myth, where the number 3 or 3.5 occupies a significant role. Yeah, and it looks like okay, so Revelation 12:14, where the figure is applied to Rome as here. And I do want to find the actual.
What's attached to the Tiamat myth?
Something about the third vision, or the 13th or the 13th day, or the 3 signs. It has a lot of textual variance, apparently. That specific verse that we just read. Yeah, if the Most High permits you to live, you will see it utterly confounded after the third period. That's the translation that is used here, but they do note the amount of.
I don't really recall from the Animal Leash anything about that, but it might be in there.
And it does not look like there's like a lot of commentary on specifically those verses.
Yeah, Left Behind. Now there's a series for you.
Have you
ever read or seen any of the Left Behind stuff?
Wasn't there a movie Left Behind with
several
Nick Cage?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it had Nick Cage.
Huh.
It's literally like people who didn't get raptured.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never watched that.
That might be a fun spoof thing we watch and stream together. Our reaction to it.
We should that
could be a thing.
God's Not Dead.
Oh, he's surely alive.
That would be.
He's surely alive.
Series, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Kevin Sorbo? Or is that something else?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
There's one with Kevin Sorbo where he's like.
I think that's God's Not Dead 2.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
I wonder if there's a God's Not Dead 3.
Dude, I don't know. All right, let's
popularity.
Let's read some of these signs, shall we?
Nah.
The sun will suddenly shine at night, and the moon in the daytime.
That would just mean that night and day are
flipped.
That it wouldn't be the sun shining at night and the moon in the daytime. It would be
daytime and nighttime.
Daytime and
Right. Or maybe the moon is the bright one. I don't know. Their cosmology was not.
Oh yeah,
all that
the
great.
moon is the bright one, and the sun gets dark.
In this, perhaps that's how they're imagining it. I don't know their cosmology. Not great, obviously.
Well, we do know their cosmology from First Enoch, right?
From First Enoch, yes, but we don't know.
Well, how would you know anything about the cosmology?
Yeah.
Because it's not in there.
Yeah, because it's not
only in First Enoch.
Yeah. So
thank
that's
you.
True.
Sorry, Jacob.
Yeah. What a guy. And here's some cooler stuff. Blood will drip from trees. Stones will cry out. Peoples will be in confusion, and the courses will be altered. So yeah, we have this this flipping of everything in nature, and I'm also guessing they have taken this motif of the reversal of roles in society, and extended it to nature
and the heavens.
So these are signs that we actually can look out for, right? fish in the Dead Sea. This has happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, actually, very recently.
Yeah, they're alive
Within
in
the
there.
last few years, there have been living fish found in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, so aside from like a whole lot of references here to Enoch, the blood and the trees.
Hey, Ruben.
Yes.
A study shows that they've been there a while, probably as long as there's been writing about the Dead Sea. So those fish were probably there. They just didn't find them.
Yeah, well,
Sure, yeah.
you know, you would probably have a pretty difficult time finding them, given how
They're-
difficult it is to find anything in the Dead Sea.
Yeah.
It's very salty.
Yeah.
It's so salty. I've been in the Dead Sea.
How is it?
Yeah.
Is it that buoyant?
You know, I stepped. Yes, it is that buoyant. But I stepped on a piece of salt that was this big. Just
Did you
one piece of salt? I
lick
picked it up. I did not lick it.
Why not? It's
Because
salt.
there's
Gross.
a bunch of tourists in the Dead Sea all the time. I'm not gonna lick anything that's been in there.
Okay, what if you washed it?
Yeah, but people kiss the Blarney Stone.
Yeah, that's how you get oral herpes, right?
No, that's how you get the Blarney.
Yeah,
It's its own thing.
By the way, I want to talk about blood and trees.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
They're talking about sap.
So
No, it's blood and trees.
the cross reference here is to they have Barnabas, or I'm thinking maybe this is the Epistle of Barnabas. Also the Sibylline Oracles. An old benediction reflects the same idea when it speaks of, quote, the abundance you have caused to flow from the tree of the cross.
Mm.
And it says, for a discussion of this line, see Bensley. Okay. Feel like they could have went a bit more on it, but I guess not. All right, let's continue here. And one whom the inhabitants of the earth do not anticipate will reign. Birds, yeah, I know, that's very messianic right there. Birds will migrate. The sea of Sodom will produce fish.
Yes, so that is
And
the Dead Sea.
Yeah, and one whom the many do not know will cry out by night, but all will hear his voice.
So a
So
lot of these things are vague, like so vague that you could draw any number of
right.
historical
So
parallels.
they make an interesting note here about this the one who will reign. They say that this is perhaps the Antichrist or Armillus. When did we say this thing was written? I forget when we talked about it. It was about
around
this.
first, second century, somewhere around there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
So, like, that's a popular idea. I'm sure you're aware of that. There will be this tribulation where the Satan or the Antichrist or whatever rules over the earth for a period of like 1,000 years or something.
Yeah. The thing about
Wow, that's a long time.
the thing about the Antichrist is it would, because the first actual use of it was
referring to a group,
yeah,
not an individual.
yeah.
But it doesn't say the Antichrist in the text. It says one that people will not expect.
Yeah, exactly. So this could be that's pretty vague.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates. Obviously, Bill Gates is referenced right here in Esdras. You heard it here first.
Yep. Oh yeah, the Spanish Inquisition. They're gonna rule.
Yeah.
You don't expect them.
Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo of America.
Yeah, they're gonna take over for 1,000 years.
So it's okay. I actually kind of want to see the commentary that they have here on this.
Look at it.
No, here. So on more about the Dead Sea, the Sea of Sodom. There. So throughout our passage, the convulsions of nature produce the opposite of the normal order. We talked about that already. And waters previously without marine life teem with it. So I wouldn't really say that the Dead Sea is teeming with marine life.
No, probably
Has
not.
some.
It has some.
Yeah.
It's not like the biggest sea in the world. Okay.
It's not the best sea, but it's a sea.
It's a lowercase
C minus, maybe just a flat C. 70%.
So yeah, it's interesting looking at how the commentary has that,
Yeah.
not knowing that we would soon discover some marine life in there. But yeah, this is very messianic, and I am sure this was very popular to a lot of groups.
Well, he outright asks when the stuff's gonna happen.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This stuff's gonna happen, and then it's gonna happen.
Well, let's see what else here. Chasms will appear in many places, and fire often be discharged therefrom.
Oh, look, sounds like California.
Wild beasts will leave their lairs, and women in their women in their uncleanness will give birth to monsters.
Okay, the critical
I'm
time
looking
of
up
pregnancy will become fearsome because monsters could be born. The idea is parallel to and explains the New Testament's, quote, woe to those who are pregnant, end quote, from Matthew 24:19, Mark 13:17, and Luke 21:23. The author makes sure that he describes a tumultuous and terrifying time.
Apparently, the Armenian manuscript has, and women will bear prodigies.
Prodigies? Oh, no!
Yeah.
Not smart people. He might be able to see through this.
Oh, here's some more references here. Jubilees 23:25 also has not monsters but prodigies. Second Esdras 6:21, which we will get to, which Box, that's the scholar, places after 5:8. Perhaps the idea expressed here is somehow drawn out of such passages as, the ones you listed in Matthew and Mark. The idea of women bearing monsters occurs also in the oath of Plataea, said to have been sworn by the Greeks before the battle.
Well, there's another Greek story where a woman bears a monster.
There's a lot
The
of those.
story of the Minotaur.
There's a good amount of them. I mean, it depends on how far you want to go with the whole Zeus thing.
Well,
Would you call his forms monsters? Is he a monster in those forms? I don't think so.
no, but the Minotaur is definitely a monster.
yeah, absolutely.
So much so
Yeah, it's
that
Trogdor.
they seal him away in a labyrinth.
Yeah, real shame. Real shame. Brackish waters will be found in sweet ones, and all friends will assault each other. Well, shit.
Time to fight, guys.
We already do that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I said I'm calling the cops.
I have video evidence
Assaulted
that I didn't
me.
punch you.
Complete assault.
So there's a Bible in the way. I claim those Bibles.
Angled perfectly.
Yep.
You thought this one through,
Yeah.
so you won't be caught.
That's right.
All friends will assault each other. Reason will then be obscured, and insight confined to its chamber, and sought in vain by many. Yeah, you're gonna look for reason. You're not gonna find it. None of that here. Injustice.
Isn't that already the state of being that Ezra finds himself in?
Well, you know what?
That's unreasonable.
Can't. Yes. Yes. Injustice and incontinence will be multiplied upon the earth. One country will ask its neighbor thus: has injustice that does right passed by you? But the reply will be negative. At that time, men will hope but will not realize it. They will exert themselves, but their ways will not achieve their purpose. I am permitted to give you these signs. If you pray again and weep as now and fast 7 days, you will hear once more things greater than these. So he's not giving the full vision. It doesn't look like. There's more. But wait, there's more.
Be continued.
But you gotta do some stuff before.
Yes, even those things that make human beings human will have fled away. Reason, justice, and hope. These things that human beings had actually pursued are now gone.
About time.
Yes.
I'm currently trying to find the commentary on part of this section at least.
It's in there.
I know.
It's in there.
Think I'm around it. All right, whatever. I'll get to it eventually. All right. Let's continue on here.
There's pictures.
So, there are, yeah. So they have a picture of Cyrus the Great, and he's dressed in these big wings.
They're great.
Darius and Xerxes. Okay, so these are honestly just
generic pictures.
Generic historical artifacts, I suppose.
Yo, if you want to see that, look that up on Google. Generic
Digs.
historic artifacts.
Yeah, these are from like archaeological sites. They're pretty big looking. I don't really think it's huge to the story. People can just look this stuff up now. All right. So this next section of the book is called "The End of the Vision."
Yes.
So verse 14. When I awoke, my body shook feverishly. Was he asleep?
Yeah.
He took 7 days.
That's when you get visions from God.
Well, yeah, but did they say that he was asleep? I forget.
I don't remember either.
They don't specify that.
I don't remember if he was asleep.
Maybe they are specifying now.
Yeah, they're now specifying that he was asleep.
Yeah, okay. I guess. All right. And I was so distressed that I fainted.
Now he's not awake anymore.
Oh no.
Ezra, buddy, relax.
You get up in the morning and you pass out.
That sucks, dude. But the angel who had come to speak with me took hold of me, supported me, and set me on my feet. Now the next night, Phaltiel, a leader of the people, came and said to me, "Where were you? And why is your expression so gloomy? Why the long face? Or don't you know that Israel in the land of their exile has been entrusted to you?" Oh, okay. So he's like, you were supposed to be at work an hour ago. You're not here to help us.
Yeah.
Why do you look so sad?
He
You gotta
literally
do a thing.
has a job.
Yeah.
He's not doing his job.
Man,
God.
sucks that he fainted. But apparently, okay, so here's something. When it says I fainted, literally, it means it fainted, and it could be referring back to the soul. So his soul fainted, and then the angel helped his soul,
Soul faint.
I
suppose.
Yep.
Get up, then eat some food, so that you may not let us down, as does the shepherd who leaves his flock in the clutches of savage wolves. Okay, no employer would certainly ever say this.
Well, this is a representative
I know-
of the
I know it's
people.
not an employer.
Ezra is a leader, therefore he's a shepherd like the king.
Right, but listen, have you ever had... I know this is a different time and all, but
day.
this would... If anyone you were working with in any capacity...
Come on, you're throwing us to the wolves here.
Lawrence, you're throwing us to the wolves here, and I work with you.
All right,
Yep.
Now it's happened.
I suppose now it has.
Solved.
Yep. It's a solvent.
I said to him, "Go away from me and do not come near me for 7 days. Then you may come to me." When he heard what I said, he left me. All right. It sounded like he had a pretty important job to do.
Yeah, no, but He's not going to do
Supposed
that
to be at
job.
work an hour ago. Leave me for 7 days. Do not return.
All right, see you later, dude.
Yeah, and the next section of the book starts up. there.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
You'll probably want to move all of the bookmarks.
Oh, I am. Don't worry. I will find all this stuff eventually. Looks like it's here.
Somewhere. It's somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're in the next section
Yes,
of the book here.
This is the second vision.
Yep.
So maybe this is coming just a few just a week afterwards.
Yeah.
Then I fasted for 7 days,
Hmm?
lamenting and weeping, just as the angel Uriel had commanded me to do. But after the conclusion of the 7 days, the thoughts of my mind began once more to trouble me intensely. Probably because you haven't eaten for 7 days.
Yeah.
However,
And you've been weeping for probably really dehydrated.
absolutely, I would guess very dehydrated. However, I recovered the spirit of understanding and resumed my discourses before the Most High. Well, it's simple solution. You waited a while.
He got himself together.
Oh, man, I really need more liquids. So this next
You've
part.
been weeping for 7 days?
Yes, I have been.
Wow.
Been a real rough week.
He's entirely out of lipids.
Yeah, completely.
Hey, if you guys are enjoying the stream, share it with your friends, family, neighbors, etc.
Yeah, that does help. You know what also helps?
We have 8 people. We have 8 likes. I think they all liked.
I know, but that's not what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
Well, you see, 2 days ago was my birthday.
Oh,
Why
happy
didn't anyone do
birthday.
anything?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I barely did anything either. I just kind of, I played video games. But you know what you could do?
You could go buy
Go to the wish list, the Amazon wish list. We got books on there.
Yeah. Go buy Lawrence's birthday book.
Get that boy.
Yeah, birthday books.
Boy book.
He'll spend the next year reading all of them.
That's
Then you can buy him more books.
That's the perfect time when I'm done reading books. There we go. That was nice. So this next section is called Prayer Complaint to the Most High and the Angel's Response. Okay. So the prayer. I said, "Oh Lord, Lord, from all the forests of the earth and from all its trees, you have selected a single vine. From all the lands of the globe, you have selected for yourself an insignificant one. And from all the flowers of the world, you selected yourself a single lily." Were lilies like looked down upon or something?
Sure.
It's just a flower.
Yeah, but he like before he was like, you have from all the lands you have selected an insignificant one. I guess
They're all insignificant.
I suppose, but I don't know.
Like, so the past had shown God's decision to choose and God's actual choice of the one vine, the one plot, the one lily that's watered by the river, which gladdens the one chosen city of Zion, the one dove. Chosen are only one sheep and only one people to whom God gave a special way of life, one root, and one unique one. The sequence of the nouns seems to be 6 references to the chosen city: the vine, the plot, the lily, the river, Zion herself, and the dove.
Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose that it would make sense that this is just like, well, from all these things that you made, this one is you have chosen is special because of it, I suppose.
Furthermore, the only one is a term for one's only offspring, as in Genesis 22:2.
Ah, okay. Okay. So this is actually kind of neat. On the reading an insignificant one, this is a difficult passage, and the rendering is by no means certain. The land is okay. Yeah, there we go. The land is not insignificant so far as quality is concerned, but rather as to size and tradition, as over against the land of Mesopotamia and the Nile Valley. The same idea here in a broader sense, as reflected in Micah 5:2. Box has, quote, planting ground. and then there are a lot of other ones. There's the word, there's garden, a trench for planting. Yeah, lots of different.
So with the emphasis in God's act of choosing Zion and Israel, this narrowing down to the chosen, the writer thinks it odd that now the relationship is reversed. The one is given over to the many. The one root is trampled on by others. Israel is undergoing severe trials as your only one, who is later explicitly identified as your firstborn. Israel first appears in the Bible as the Son of God in Exodus 4:22. The author proposes that God owes his people direct dealings rather than treatment at the hands of other nations. If Israel is to be punished, it should not be the other peoples who execute that sentence. Rather, the God of Israel and his own punishing hand should act. So the essence here, they're focusing on all these things, and they will for the next so many verses, right? And the point being that there is one Israel, which is the one Son of God, right? The land, literally, the people, as the Son of God, and that God should be dealing with them as a father deals with their child, not through some proxy, as is much the case, like when he sends Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. From all the deeps of the sea, you have filled up for yourself a single brook, and from all the cities that have been built, you have dedicated Zion for yourself. From all the winged creatures, you designated for yourself a single dove, and from all created animals, you provided for yourself a single sheep. From all the, oh my God, this word, multitudinous peoples, you acquired for yourself only one people, and you gave a law esteemed by all to this people whom you called. And now, Lord, why have you handed the one over? Interesting. So there's a textual note on that one. Handed the one over. So why have you handed the one over to the many? And having prepared one shoot above others, why have you dispersed your only one among the many? Those who resisted your commandments have trampled on those who believed in your covenants. If you really dislike your people so much, it ought to be chastised by your own hands.
Yeah. So this is what I was referring to before, what it says in Eerdmans. Of course, it says in the wisdom of Ben Sira, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? So they explicitly advocate for beating your children, which is a bad thing.
Well, I mean, directly, in Ben Sira. This one is like, I mean, it looks like he wants God to deal with it.
Yeah, because God is the father of the people, and the punishment would have to come from him directly.
It would,
as is the case within the ethic of the time, right? Because I'm assuming that Ben Sira was written by now, right? Like, this is the 2nd century.
Oh, yeah.
So they already have a history of advocating for child abuse.
But the thing is, I don't really see this as necessarily child abuse. Like, I can see that interpretation, especially like by your own hands, but that could just mean like you do it yourself. Like instead,
and what they're referring to doing yourself is like punishing with his own hands.
Well, what I am saying,
not IKEA.
What I am saying is that you could have, like, I don't know, a famine or something.
Okay.
It's more like IKEA than you would think, because IKEA, you have to assemble everything yourself anyway. What a terrible system.
I know.
So here's the response. So he's all mad about it. Like, hey, like, okay, you're mad at us. Why'd you send the Babylonians to do this? Good question.
Or just the nations in general.
Yeah, why'd you send all these other people to do this? That's a very good question. We were wondering the same thing. And then punish the people he sent. Either way.
Of course, stay in your lane.
Right.
Not for you to know.
My bad. My bad.
Don't ask questions.
Now, when
Don't
I
ask
had
questions you don't know the answer to. That was one of my favorite. Do you remember when I said that before?
No.
Really? Wow. I guess it's been 10, maybe longer years since I've said it.
It's like, Yeah, I said something that I really liked 10 years ago. Do you remember that?
You guys would remember Terabad and a bunch of other things I've said years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because
I thought it was
Terabad
as memorable. My bad.
was taken.
Not even. It's barely made of words.
Yeah.
Also,
Also, it's from Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends. It's Terabad. Yep. Yeah, they said it in the show. You probably got it from there and forgot.
Hey, man. Hey, thanks. I barely watched that show, but it's true. I probably could have got it from there.
Yeah.
now when I had spoken these words, the angel who had come to me before on an earlier night was sent to me. He said to me, "Listen to me, and I'll teach you. Give attention to me, and I'll tell you more." Then I said, "Say on, my lord."
So
he
this is
continued.
Uriel.
So he continued, "Are you as terribly disturbed about Israel as his creator? Or do you love him more than his creator?" "No, Lord," I replied, "but I had to speak out of pain, for my heart torments me every hour. I seek to comprehend the way of the Most High and to examine the direction of his judgment." So he's really, really struggling to understand the ways of the Lord here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess try to comprehend how he feels about this.
Which you can't do.
Right, yeah. "You cannot do it," he said. I said, "Why, Lord? To what end was I born? Why then was not my mother's womb my grave?" All right. So he's very upset that
That he was born.
human. He's upset that he was born human.
Yeah. Because it sucks. You
Yeah, I
can't
get that.
even know anything.
Can't even know how
important.
God feels.
Yeah. How are you supposed to do what God wants if you don't know how God feels?
That's a very good point. That I might not see Jacob's suffering and the weariness of Israel's descendants. Yeah, this is like, same problem of evil kind of thing, but this is more of like it's very personal to him. Instead of him suffering, it's about him lamenting over the suffering of his people.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason's pointing out that's very similar to Job. It is, but I think that would be the big difference, because in Job, it's more like, these things are happening to me. Why was I ever born? And this is a little bit different.
Mm.
He said to me, is he going to say some more ridiculous things? Let's find out. "Count for me those not yet come. Collect for me the spattered drops. Make green again for me the withered flowers. Open up for me closed chambers and release for me the winds shut up in them. Show me the picture of a sound." We can do that part now.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we can do a lot of that stuff.
Well, a good amount of it.
There are viable models of predicting the number of people that'll be born each year, right?
Yes, I would say so.
So there you go. Here you go, Uriel. You want to see what sound looks like? It looks like this. That's what it looks like.
And the closed chambers, the winds shut up in them. Another reference to Job. Of course, Job 37:9. Also, we have First Enoch and Revelation as well. Here we go. Some, Violet and Wellhausen, scholars, render spirits for winds with the Ethiopic and Armenian. But references in apocalyptic literature seem to be limited to the repository for the souls of the righteous. Storehouses or chambers of darkness are referred to in a lot of Qumranic manuscripts.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just cover this one real quick. So the picture of a sound. For the ancient world, everything was conceived in a corporeal sense. Isaiah 55:10, the word is conceived as a messenger with a mission to perform. The Virgil passage, Saxa sonent. Man, I really wish this was something I could read. Sonent vicosque offensa resultat imago, and it doesn't give a translation. But it says that it's not quite similar.
It's Latin.
Yes.
All the vowels are a, e, u, a, o.
Okay. Either way, yeah, I don't know what that means.
That means, where is it?
Up here, top line.
Well, we know imago means image.
That's what I'm guessing.
So there you go, partial translation.
Yeah, partial translation. There you go. That's as much as getting.
Any Catholics out there in the audience want to tell us what that means?
Well, I'm going. I can't even speak. I am going to continue on.
Do it.
So he's once again asking for things that he's not really expecting to get. Mm-hmm. Then I will disclose to you the reason for the misfortune you asked to see. Then I said, Lord, Lord, who can know these things except he whose habitation is not among men? Of course, being God. But I am dull-witted. So how can I speak about those things concerning which you asked me? He did it before.
This is the same line of reasoning.
Yeah, exactly. He replied to me, just as you are unable to do one of these things suggested, so you will be unable to discover my judgment or the purpose of the love I promised my people. And now we're going into the next section. Why successive generations were created. And this is split into two, it looks like. Mm-hmm. The divine plan is for successive generations. Yeah, I know, it's split into multiple things. So, I said, but then, Lord, you give preference to those who are alive at the end. So what will those who preceded us do? Or we, or those who come after us? He said to me, I will compare my judgment to a circle. As there is no disadvantage to the slow, so there is no advantage to the fast. I replied saying, could you not have created all those who have been created at the same time, both those who now exist and those who shall exist in the future, so that you might display your judgment more quickly? He answered me saying, creation cannot proceed more rapidly than the Creator, nor could the world contain at the same time all who have been created in it.
It's the same line of reasoning that was used before.
Yes.
And I would say that there's a lot of things that apparently God has limits here.
Yeah, he only moves a certain speed.
Yeah, he has a certain pace he's moving at. Whatever that pace is, it has to be that pace, it seems. And apparently, I think, unless this is just a translation issue, that all the people that exist have already been created in some form.
Let me see.
Okay, so he answered me saying, creation cannot proceed more rapidly than the Creator, nor could the world contain at the same time all who have been created in it. So
and that could just refer to the number of people who have been created over time.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. It could refer to that. I said, how then can you say to your servant that you will indeed make alive at the same time every creature created by you? Good question. If indeed they will be alive at the same time and the creation support them, it might even now be able to support all those present at the same time. I feel like this was written in response to something. To people actually...
It might have been a common line of reasoning at the time.
Sure, but to go into it in this much detail, and into this... They're actually making an argument here. They're presenting both sides of the argument.
Yes.
So I would say, I think that this section probably was written as a response to, I don't know if it was like rabbis' concerns or concerns of perhaps perhaps other groups.
Check the commentary if there's any textual reference to the Tanakh or
the
Tanakh, the Talmud.
That would make sense. But yeah, I think that because of this, the amount of reasoning that they're going into here to try to justify it, like I'm guessing that this has a lot of Talmudic undertones. I would say. So the dialogue goes on with the main question still being that of judgment at the end of the age. The author, not sure when the end will come, in view of the preference given to those alive, then wonders what will happen to those who lived before him, to those of his own generation and those of future generations. The reply of the angel is to the effect that one group will enjoy advantage over another by virtue of the accident of time. The concept of resurrection had actually accorded precedence to earlier generations. We've talked about that plenty. Those who died before, as may be seen from the Thessalonian passage cited above, he's citing in his verse 42 commentary. Hence, the old idea voiced in verse 41 was superseded by the concept set forth in verse 42. All pious individuals will participate in salvation, which is also the New Testament view. The exigencies of the time may be responsible for pressing the issue in the following verses. Yeah, that's
okay.
Kind of the line I was thinking.
That's what's there.
Yeah, that was being pressed. It was being asked a lot. Which is fair, I think. But either way, yeah, he's, at least in the context here, he's asking, hey, if everyone will exist all together in the future, why not now? Let's see. They're going to say...
There wouldn't be enough space.
Also, the bad people wouldn't be around, right?
Oh, yeah,
a lot of extra room?
Maybe.
Let's find out. Yeah, if indeed they will be alive at the same time and the creation support them and might even now be able to support all those present at the same time. He said to me, ask a woman's womb this. If you give birth to 10 children, why only one at a time? Ask it therefore to produce 10 children at the same time. I replied, impossible. No, it isn't. But it can...
They still have to come out one after another.
That's true. But it can do it at regular intervals of time. That doesn't really answer his question. His question is,
he's saying that it takes time.
If you shoved every child back into the womb.
Please don't.
Why are you talking about that?
Because that was his argument. The argument by Ezra was that, like, hey, if everyone can be sustained, if everyone will be sustained on the earth at one time, then why can't they all fit now?
Which is a perfectly fair question.
Right, but I'm saying that the angel didn't answer it. The angel misrepresented him.
Mm-hmm. Good job, Angel. Well, let's see what else the angel
That's a bad answer. That does not answer the question, Angel.
Would you rather him have said, "Oh, stay in your lane"?
I guess not. I don't know. That's a tough call.
Well, at least I know what lane I'm supposed to be in. Then.
Right, the human one. So this next section is the earth is like a womb, engendering one generation after another, each smaller and weaker. These are horrible titles. He said to me, I have made the earth a womb for those who at their peculiar time have been impregnated in it. For just as a child cannot yet give birth, or one who is old do it anymore, so I have regulated the world I created. Then I inquired as follows. Inasmuch as you have now revealed to me the way, let me speak before you. Is our mother, about whom you spoke to me, still young, or is she now approaching old age? He replied to me as follows. Ask a woman who gives birth, and she will tell you. What?
So they're using the earth as mother.
I get that. I get that. But are they saying ask the earth?
Yeah, they ask a woman, then you ask the earth, you know.
So you follow the parallel. You ask a woman who's pregnant or given birth how old she is. What do you think she's going to say?
Oh,
I'm 72 years young.
yeah. So they're going for gotcha. All right. Classic. Absolutely classic. Oh, hold on. There's more to this. If you say to her, why are those to whom you have given birth recently not like those to whom you gave birth before, but smaller of stature? She herself will tell you that those who were born in the virility of youth are different from those who were born in the period of old age when the womb is impaired.
Well, the likelihood of birth defects does increase each year after around 35. So,
yeah.
If you're going to have children, it's probably smarter to do so with a woman who's younger than 35 years old.
You're sounding a lot like, what's his name?
God?
No. Stefan Molyneux.
But that's anatomically true.
Well, yeah.
No. But I'm saying like the whole, like he I don't know, for some reason.
If you're going to have you're going to have children, you should do so before she's 35 years old. Like Stefan Molyneux is like, and if you want to watch my stuff, then you should be willing to come to a different platform with me. I mean, why would you want to only watch me on YouTube? That's ridiculous.
I mean, I think Stefan Molyneux is just creepy. Like he just cares way too much about what women do for some reason.
He cares too much about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And too little about a lot of other things.
Yeah. Consider too that you also are smaller of stature than those who are before you, and those who follow you will be smaller than you because the creation is already old and the vigor of her youth already past. All right. Okay. This is another section here, starting at verse 56. The end will come through God alone. I think we have already established that.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the whole point.
Yeah.
Then I said, I implore you, Lord, if you please, show your servant through whom you are going to visit your creation. That's actually the end of the chapter.
All right, bookmark each of the things.
I will.
So, pretty long chapter.
Yeah.
We've got another long one.
Yes, we do.
Coming up. And did you bookmark the textual stuff?
I'm bookmarking all of it.
Okay. So, this commentary starts like in the middle of this paragraph here.
Great. Fantastic. Yes, here it is.
Okay. Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, share with your friends and your pregnant wives.
And,
if you have multiple.
And your children as well. The earth, share it with the earth.
Yeah. And print off a copy of our URL and bury it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually.
Geostashing.
Yeah. Some historian will find it someday.
And then we'll be popular in the future.
Yeah.
Long after Lawrence's death.
We're still trying to become the most popular show in Antarctica.
Yeah, right.
I feel like we're on the way to that.
Whenever Landon's out there, we are one of the most popular shows in Antarctica.
That is true.
Yep.
And not many podcasts can say that.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man.
Is someone in Antarctica watching you right now? No, didn't think so.
Yeah, geez, guys. You should really get on that. So, chapter 6. He said to me, In the beginning of the terrestrial world, before the portals of the world were established, before the wind blasts blew, before the crashes of thunder resounded, before the flares of lightning flashed, before the foundations of paradise were laid, before the beauty of flowers appeared, before the forces of motion were determined, before the innumerable hosts of angels were mustered, there's 200 of them, before the heights of the air were rised up, before the measures of the firmaments were defined, before Zion was designated as a footstool, before the existing years were designed, before the tricks of those now sinning were thwarted, and those who stored up faith were sealed, even then I gave thought to it. These things were made by me and not by another, just so the end will come through me and not through another.
Okay, so from the very beginning of time, he knew, actually even before time, because there was no, he didn't put out like, what do you say, like a calendar, not a calendar, but he put out
the years.
Before the years were whatever. So even before time, because this would effectively be before time, because God would be the arbiter of years.
So there's some interesting stuff here. The portals of heaven. Now that's based off of First Enoch. I'm sure that you understand all that if you've watched our First Enoch stuff. The wind blasts come out of the portals of heaven. Right? The crashes of thunder. So we can see Baal hurling thunderbolts in Ugaritic literature. For the foundations of paradise, this can be heavenly or earthly paradise, but mythological elements are involved in either case. For the beauty of flowers, no exact...
I was just thinking Eden, because if you're talking about the very earliest moments.
Well, whether... No exact parallel, but Sirach 43:9 and 2 Esdras 6:44. Gunkel thinks that the reference is to the flowers of the heavenly paradise, which were originally the stars. So that may be
interesting
part of it. And the hosts of angels, you can see 2 Thessalonians 1:7, Hebrews 12:22, Revelation 5:11, 1 QM 7:6, 12:1 and 8, etc. There's a lot of things. So the heights of the air. So this may be a reference to the Enuma Elish, where the first lines say, when from above the heavens. So that's the first line of the creation epic in the Enuma Elish, Babylonian. Yeah, there's all sorts of references here, but the point is that it's before all sorts of shit. Yeah. So now we're in another subsection, which is the division of the times. Now, the Ethiopic has signs of the times. Really what Ezra has in mind is the interval between the beginning and the end. Okay. Then I responded as follows. What will indicate the division of the times, or when will be the end of the first or the beginning of the second? He said to me, from Abraham to Isaac, since Jacob and Esau were born of him, for the hand of Jacob held fast the heel of Esau from the beginning. Now Esau represents the end of this age, while Jacob represents the beginning of the following one. The beginning of a man is his hand, and the end of a man is his heel. Do not bother, Ezra, to inquire about anything between the heel and the hand.
Well, we could argue day and night about that.
Yeah.
And we will.
They're saying that the interval between the beginning and end of time is inconsequential.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
What matters is that it's time, I guess. All you have to notice is that this is the entirety of time.
Mm-hmm. So Gonkel notes that the wisdom of the mystery is that this aeon with the hegemony of Esau or Rome is concluded, and that of the hegemony of Jacob or Israel is beginning, and that Israel's hegemony will follow on the heels of Rome without a break. So let's continue here. Then I spoke as follows, O Lord, Lord, if you please, show your servant the last of your signs, a portion of which you showed me last night. Now we have another section, Revelations of the signs. He replied to me as follows, Get up on your feet, and you will hear an exceedingly loud voice. If the place where you stand is violently convulsed, when it speaks with you, you must not be terrified, for the message concerns the end, and the foundations of the earth will comprehend that the speech is about them. They will quake and be agitated, for they know that their end requires change. When I heard that, I got up on my feet and listened. Then a voice, whose sound was like the sound of many waters, spoke. It said, Look, the days are approaching when I begin to draw nigh to judge the inhabitants of the earth, when I shall begin to avenge those who have unjustly injured others by their injustice, when the humiliation of Zion shall have reached its fullness, when the age which is about to pass away will be finally sealed. I will give these signs. The books will be opened before the firmament where all may see them at the same time. Year-old infants will talk, and pregnant women will give birth to premature infants at 3 or 4 months who will live and skip about. Sown fields will suddenly appear unsown. Full storehouses will suddenly be found empty. The trumpet will resound. All, when they hear it, will suddenly be terrified. At that time, friends will fight with friends as though they were enemies. The land with its inhabitants will be terrified, and springs will cease to run for 3 hours.
Interesting that they have 3 hours there. Maybe that's to parallel the, the 3 periods from before?
It might be. I'm looking at the commentary now.
So, lots of stuff is happening here. Of course, the trumpet blast, it usually something's very pivotal. It's something that's very pivotal when it comes with a trumpet blast. So of course, there's the stuff in Revelation. That's one thing. You can also have you can also have Jericho, right? The walls falling down and stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's often found in 1 QM. It's also in Isaiah 27:13, Matthew 24:31, 1 Corinthians 15:5, 1 Thessalonians 4:16, and the Apocalypse of Abraham 31. So these books that'll be opened are records that are thought to be kept of the deeds of men, as in Revelation 20:12 and 1 Enoch 89:61 through 64. These were the books opened at the time of judgment. Perhaps Gunkel is right in regarding the one referred to here as the Book of Plagues, whose very opening signaled the beginning of their operation.
Book of Plagues, interesting.
Mm-hmm. You might want to
don't open that book.
Look into that.
Will do.
There's all these.
Just don't open the book. You can look at the book, okay?
No, I'll open it.
Jeez, that's how you trigger them. they're on a switch or something.
I don't know. Maybe it's another one of those like obscure things that isn't actually a thing. Like when we're talking about like the Book of Life. Maybe it's one of those. I don't know.
So springs will cease. So this is in the Testament of Levi 4:1, the Assumption of Moses 10:6, and PSSOL. So I guess the Psalms of Solomon 17:21. I don't know PSSOL. Never heard of it.
Maybe.
I'm guessing the Psalms of Solomon. If anyone knows about that, let me know. So let's continue on here. Unless maybe there's some commentary that talks about this. The only dating attempt. This is the only dating attempt, but the interpretation is uncertain. First, Enoch uses the hour terminology to describe an eon or age. Gunkel interprets literally. The voice that comes like roaring waters is that of Yahweh, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is also found in Isaiah 17:13, Jeremiah 51:16, Psalm 65:7, etc.
And Jason quoted Ezekiel 43:2.
Anyways. Okay, I read that part.
Yeah, so the streams will stop their flow.
Infants, sown fields becoming empty, trumpets resound, friends fight with friends, springs cease to run for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Then all who have escaped all these things, which I have made known to you beforehand, will be saved, and they will see my salvation and the end of my world. Then the persons who have been admitted, who have not tasted death from their birth, will appear, and the mind of the inhabitants of the earth will be converted to a different spirit. For evil will be destroyed, and trickery blotted out, faith will flourish, and corruption be subdued, and truth, which has been fruitless for so long, will be exposed. So that's an interesting bit.
So he is not to belittle the past so that he will not be... Oh, sorry. So Ezra is commended for his chaste life, told to resume fasting. I mean, it seems like they'll be exposed to light, I'm guessing.
All evil is going to be abolished.
Truth will actually exist.
Yet the desire for doing evil will be gone. Faith will flourish. So Voles has distinguished 4 main types of faith. 1, the common monotheistic faith as over against paganism. 2, eschatological faith. 3, ethical faith. And 4, religious faith. The latter 2 types are often inseparable. Yes, sure, religious faith and ethical faith are inseparable.
Well, if you're just talking about relating to ethics in some way.
Ridiculous. Let's continue.
So I think, are you getting into the third one now? The third vision?
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, no? Okay.
No. Advice concerning the things to come. A warning against speculation. Don't speculate, guys.
I wonder what this is about.
I'm screwed.
While he was talking to me, suddenly the place where I was standing began to move to and fro. He said to me, I have come to show you these things tonight. If, therefore, you will pray again and fast for 7 days, I will again declare to you greater things than these by day, because your prayer has indeed been heard before the Most High. For the Almighty has taken note of your righteousness and recognized the virtue that you have practiced since your youth. On account of this, he has sent me to reveal to you all these things and say to you, believe, do not fear, and do not be over-anxious to speculate uselessly about former times, that you may not be taken by surprise in the last times.
You know, that makes sense. Like when you have expectations for things, and when those don't happen, you can be very upset about it.
Yes.
I get that.
Man, I expected you would say that, and I'm very
I
upset.
knew
I'm
you
still
would.
upset.
I knew you would think that.
And I knew you would think that.
Oh my God.
Jeez, let's just stop speculating.
We're about to get into the third vision. I'm just going to find where the commentaries start.
Yes. So after the usual week of fasting, Ezra is ready to pour out his soul to the Most High. Ezra recalls the full 6 days of creation with thoughtful reflections on each of them as they appear in Genesis 1, as well as in popular Jewish thought of the day. So I'm very excited to see how the author here interpreted those sections. This narration stresses that God created by word only, and the narrator dwells on Behemoth and Leviathan. creatures that, of course, do not appear in Genesis 1, but in Job 40 through 41. And if you remember properly, once again, in Enoch, right, the Leviathan will be eaten by the people in this big ceremonial party.
So prayer and fasting were thought to be of special importance for the quickening and intensification of the ecstatic state. Well, you can just look at India, see the asceticism that their yogis practice. Sure that they consider that important. So
I would say so, yeah.
Now after this I wept again and fasted for 7 days as I had done earlier, so as to complete the 3 weeks prescribed for me.
3 weeks. Another one. Here we go.
So 3 weeks. Daniel 10:2. Only 2 periods of 7 days are mentioned thus far, and 5:20 in here. Perhaps the author was thinking of a 7-day period preceding the first vision.
We could have guessed that, actually.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that would make sense. But it is weird that was just not stated.
Not listed, though.
Yeah. But that would, that would fit in with the idea that there was something beforehand, one where we were told that he fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Then on the 8th night, when my heart was again disquieted within me, I began to address the Most High directly. My spirit was intensely excited and my mind uneasy. Question: why has Israel become the prey of other nations if it was for its sake that the world was created? I said, O Lord, you have indeed spoken from the beginning of the creation. On the first day you said, let heaven and earth be made, and your word accomplished this work. At that time, a wind was blowing fiercely. Darkness and silence were everywhere, and the sound of man's voice was not yet before you. Then you directed a ray of light to go forth from your treasury so that your works could be seen. So this ray of light sees Sirach 43:1 and 2 Enoch 25:3. Though the light of the heavenly bodies was not created until the 4th day, the rabbis believed that light itself emanated from God on the first day, and that by its illumination, Adam saw the whole world. See Tractate Baba Hagiga 12a.
So
For Gnostic speculation, see Bolig and Labib's Diakopchish Gnostic. It is said that Pistis Sophia put out her finger and poured over him, deathless man, light from her light. In the Mandaean book of John, it is said, before the sun and moon existed and came into the world, splendor already burned in its receptacle. So, yeah,
So is this where we get the imagery of like God as this ball of light comes from?
Maybe.
No, that's the Big Bang.
Oh, of course, yeah, right. Which Adam saw?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Adam was right there to see the Big Bang and everything.
Yeah.
Because, the order of operations is so screwy.
Let me see if there's anything in the commentary proper that talks about this.
Oh, you know what is actually kind of neat here? So the author proposes that God assigned. Okay, I'm actually not going to get into that part because you haven't gotten to it yet. But the last section here I just thought was kind of neat. The creation account curiously omits God's rest on the 7th day, perhaps because Ezra wants God to act now. I don't know about that one, but maybe it was omitted to, I don't know, fit some fasting period thing. I don't know.
On the 2nd day, you created the spirit of the firmament and commanded it to separate and make a division between the waters, that a part might recede above and a part remain below.
Hold on. Sorry. So I'm currently doing research for the Suffering Servant thing, and one of the servant songs talks about the spirit.
Spirit of the firmament?
Not the spirit of the firmament, but it talks about the servant having the spirit, but it was actually an addition from, like, the rest of the verse is pretty in line with, I think, was it Genesis? I think it's pretty in line with Genesis.
Mm.
Or maybe it was a completely different book, but it was in line with something else completely except for that one addition. So can you just tell me that again? Because I feel like that might be important. What's the verse?
Verse 41 of chapter 6. On the second day you created the spirit of the firmament and commanded it to separate and make a division between the waters, that a part might recede above and a part remain below. Now, the commentary states, Gunkel thinks that spirit here means angel, as in 1 Enoch 15:10 and Jubilees 2:2. The biblical reference is to Genesis 1:6. For the Hebrew, everything was alive and responsive to God. Hence, the firmament here was thought to be capable of receiving and executing a command. For separating it, see Job 9:8, Jeremiah 5:22. Here, the firmament is personalized, and the acts on the divine command. In Genesis, it's simply an object of God's creation and the barrier separating the waters above and below it.
Okay, so yeah, it probably doesn't have to do with that at all, but it's interesting just to note, I guess. I'll have to look at the verse again.
Yeah. So let's continue here, talking about creation. On the third day, you commanded the waters be collected in the seventh part of the earth. Now, the seventh part, Syriac says one of the 7 parts. Gotcha. But 6 parts you made dry, and preserving that, some of them might serve before you for sowing and cultivating. We all know that water actually takes up more of the earth than
a
dry
sixth
land.
of the world is a landmass. Yeah.
Good chunk, yeah.
See the reference to 7 mountains of 1 Enoch. According to the recognitions of Clement, the mathematicians of the day regarded Genesis as divided into 7 parts called climates, over each of which an angel presided.
Huh.
So
That's why there's 7 of them.
okay.
Yeah, so for the 6 parts, interpretation will depend on textual tradition followed. Box, in Loco, thinks that the reference is to divine sanction believed following agriculture. Gunkel, however, is of the opinion that in view of verse 44, paradise is meant. So this could be a number of things, but that thing about the angels presiding over different areas, Gunkel points out that this was also the tradition of India and Persia. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think Matthew's onto something. 7 Dragon Balls.
Yeah, 7 Dragon Balls.
Yeah, there's something about that.
Like, if you collect the 7 parts of Genesis, you get a wish. Anyways, so that your word went out and the work was done forthwith. For immediately there was an immeasurable quantity of fruit, appetizing to the most varied tastes, and inimitably colored flowers with scents of indescribable fragrance. These things were made on the 3rd day. On the 4th day you commanded the splendor of the sun to be made, the light of the moon, and the order of the stars, and you commanded them to serve man yet to be formed. On the 5th day you issued orders to the 7th part, where the water was collected, that it should produce living creatures, birds, and fish.
So where the water was collected, are they just talking about, so is this 7th part just
the ocean?
Just the ocean or the sea? Or the rivers, the water system?
It very well might be the ocean. The commentary is not very useful. See if there's anything in there.
What verse is that?
That was verse 47.
My favorite.
Oh, okay, here we go. So the author proposes that God assigned each of these creatures to a different part of the world. So Behemoth to part of the land, so that's 6/7 of the world, and Leviathan to the water, 1/7 of the world.
And so it was that the mute and lifeless water, as it was commanded, produced living creatures for which the nations may extol your wonderful works. Then you preserved 2 living creatures. You named one Behemoth, and the other you called Leviathan. So, obviously, it says this comes from Babylonian mythology, where they are semi-divine monsters of chaos. For their role in apocalyptic literature, see this other book that we don't have. Note the emphasis on God's creation of these monsters.
I mean, yeah, God said God created them.
Yes. So we have Behemoth and Leviathan. But to Leviathan, so you separated the one from the other because the 7th part where the water was collected was unable to contain both of them. You gave to Behemoth the one part which was dried up on the 3rd day to live in, and where there are...
So it's the land?
Yeah, where there are 1,000 mountains. But
sure, just the earth. Let's say the earth. Doesn't actually...
We can say the earth. Leviathan is said to be female and Behemoth male in 1st Enoch. And in Ugaritic, Baal is said to have crushed Leviathan. 1,000 mountains. Pull out Psalms.
Psalms? Okay.
Yes. Go to Psalm 50, verse 10. Because with this 1,000 mountains, there may be a covert reference to Behemoth in Psalm 50:10.
All right, Psalm 50:10. For every beast of the forest is mine, the cattle on 1,000 hills.
So the 1,000 hills, maybe the 1,000 mountains.
Sure, yeah. And for every beast on the forest is mine.
So this could be a reference to Behemoth.
Interesting. So in context, I will not accept a bull from your house or goats from your folds. So in context, they're talking about I'm not going to be. This is the one where he's not accepting sacrifices. He's like, I'm not taking that stuff because it's already mine.
Yeah. Which would make sense in context here because they emphasize that Behemoth was created by God.
That's true.
So, but to Leviathan, you gave the moist 7th part. You kept them to be consumed by whoever you wish and when you wish. So we know that from 1st Enoch and other sources.
Yeah. That was going to be the big party.
Yes. But on the 6th day, you commanded the earth to bring forth before you cattle, wild animals, and reptiles. Over them you placed Adam, whom you had put in charge of all the works which you had created, and from him all of us, whom you chose as a people, are descended. Now I wonder about this. Is this implying
that Adam is simply the originator of the Jewish people, and that's why when Cain left,
he found other people?
Yeah.
Right? Because if it's all of us, then that would be everyone, right? Including like the Edomites.
Right, but in this case, it would just be the Jews.
Right.
The Israelites, I guess.
And let me see. That's verse 54. They don't have a specific statement about it.
So here's the closest thing that I have to any of that. A major thrust or goal of the passage is to show that the world was created for the sake of Israel. All of creation is simply the backdrop for the life of Israel. And now Ezra says this life is more difficult for Israel than would seem necessary. The questioning is impassioned. The Gentiles are now ruling over Israel. The one for whom the world was created is suffering unbearably.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like Adam would just be the father of the people, or maybe they're just neglecting to mention the others
Other
that he
people.
is the father of. Yeah.
Yeah. I've spoken about all these things before you, Lord, because you said that you created the firstborn world for us. As for the rest of the nations sprung from Adam, okay, the rest of the nations are also sprung from Adam. You declared them to be as nothing, like spittle, and you have likened their profusion to drippings from a bucket. It's a drop in a bucket. Now then, O Lord, these nations that are reckoned as nothing bear rule over us and devour us, while we, your people, whom you have called your firstborn, your only begotten, your confident, your dearly beloved, have been delivered into their hands. So if the world was created for us, why do we not enjoy possession of the heritage of our world? How long will this continue?
I'm sure that is what the people were thinking a lot in those days.
It's a question often asked by the psalmists
Yeah.
and characteristic of Psalms of Lamentation.
Yeah, how long will this go on?
Yeah. So that is the end of chapter 6.
Is it? Wow.
So I hope you all enjoyed the stream today.
Long one.
Pretty
Yeah,
long.
definitely a long one.
Some interesting stuff here. Behemoth, Leviathan.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying these visions. I think we're going to get a pretty cool one next week, too.
Yeah, I would even say that these are slightly cooler than the visions of Ezekiel.
Really? I don't know.
yeah.
That's a real tough call.
They're pretty good in Ezekiel too.
There's
you-
fantastic imagery in Ezekiel, but
This is
you don't
neat.
have direct debates with God.
No, these are like questions someone would ask God at the time.
Yeah.
And so it's neat to see how little information God's willing to give.
Yeah. So, any thoughts about these chapters, Lauren?
I mean, no, not particularly.
Ah.
There's, I know. I think there might be some interesting stuff that I might be able to use. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll have to look back into it.
All right. Well, join us on Sunday when we'll be reading more of Ezekiel. There's only about 4 weeks of Ezekiel for us. left.
Yeah. And of course, this next week, or on Sunday for Ezekiel, dim bones.
Yeah. That is in Eerdman's
Yes,
commentary.
it is right here. That's going to be chapter 37. Going to be getting into some more stuff in Ezekiel, and then I don't know how many more weeks of second Esdras we'll be doing.
So second Esdras has, let me just pull this up.
Chapters are seeming longer.
It has 16 chapters.
Okay.
So if we're doing three chapters,
We'll end
per,
them at the same time, basically. We'll start new stuff for both shows at the
then,
same time.
Yeah, we've got roughly 4 more weeks of this, which means that when we get into Daniel, we could probably cover the additions to Daniel on Friday Apocryphal Podcast.
Dang, yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
That's how you use a
But that-
complimentary show like that.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard to cover though, because like if we get into,
We have commentaries on it.
yeah, I know we have commentaries, but I'm saying like if we do we just read all the additions to Daniel in one?
Yeah, it's 3 chapters.
Yeah, so we do that all in one sitting.
And
But then
Friday
doesn't that
Apocryphal
spoil?
Podcast.
Doesn't that spoil?
No, because they're not in Daniel.
Oh,
They're
I know that,
additions,
but
so
like
they're not
since
spoilers.
they are kind of, because if they're thrown throughout Daniel,
I see. So
then
maybe we should do the additions to Daniel towards the end of Daniel.
No, they're not thrown throughout Daniel. They take place in between 2 verses in like the 3rd chapter of Daniel.
Oh,
then
okay.
It'll go great.
all of them. All right.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
So, if you enjoyed the stream today, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, neighbors. Check us out on Patreon. Got tons of cool rewards. You could be on this show. I know you want to be. You could check out our Amazon wish list, buy some books, get Lawrence here a present.
Birthday presents.
Yep.
Right off the Amazon wish list.
If you, I don't know, there's tons of stuff. We'll We'll get to it. We'll finish the Bible soon enough.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, we will be done with the Old Testament.
Definitely.
And yeah, it's been a long road.
And then I can
getting from there
practice.
to
Then I
here.
can practice my ancient Greek
Yep.
in the New Testament.
Yep. We'll get a Septuagint Bible
Well,
with both Greek and English.
Well, the
and
Septuagint doesn't have the New Testament because the Septuagint is
the
the
Old
Greek
Testament.
Old Testament.
Oh, well,
Oops.
shit. We'll get Greek New Testament.
We can get a Greek New Testament, yeah.
I'm sure we can. We'll go to an Orthodox Greek church. and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like, give
we'll
us a
be
Greek
there.
New Testament. We want it. It better be ancient Greek. You give us any of that modern Greek, it's Greek to us. So, anyways, yeah, that's everything.
Give us that Greek and it better be ancient.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter.
Teespring. We got shirts.
Teespring.
Yeah.
Shirts. Why don't you pin up a nice,
A good one. A
buzzy
bee one.
Buzzy Bee one.
Yeah, that works.
This is Buzzy Bee. This is our mascot.
Yeah, there he is. You could win one of these shirts if you're a patron, or you can just get one of them.
It's taking forever.
Yeah,
Yep.
it does take a bit, but it's there and it's looking fine. What else we got? Facebook and Twitter, free to follow us there.
Yep. And yeah, and that's it. We will see you on
See you on Sunday. It's
And then
gonna be
Friday.
great.